Oh. Well, it's okay. I came in and I was like, why is Louise Belcher here? And then I realized the rest of them. Well, my eyes went right to the pink. And I was like, that's weird. He never puts the, like, Louise Belcher. She's never been in the mix before.
I was in a very gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss place.
Sure. No, I get it.
Because I don't think Sansa's as bad. Well, Cersei's the worst.
Yes.
Sansa's definitely a gatekeeper, I feel like.
I would say Sansa's more of a girl boss.
I think she's got more gumption than...
Yeah. Girl boss. Gatekeep. Gaslight. Sociopath.
Well, yeah, I was going to say.
Revenge!
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, we are going to have a conversation about the 2014 feel-good film, Gone Girl. Real patriotic feel-good.
Revenge fantasy thriller.
Are you asking me if I killed my wife?
Man of my dreams. This man of mine may kill me.
What about my son, Nick?
This man may kill me. In her own words,
This man may truly
kill me.
You ever hear the expression, the simplest answer is often the correct one?
Actually, I've never found that to be true.
I love this movie. I think I'm a low-key David Fincher stan.
100%. I'm a high key.
Well, no, you, yeah, I
love him.
We know that.
Though I was not impressed with Mank.
You've never
come at me with the hate.
You've never met a single person that you haven't found a way to talk about Zodiac with.
It's amazing.
It's okay.
It
you
is
way
amazing.
oversold it to me for one of our better episodes. Actually, yeah. I think
Dark Jake Gyllenhaal.
It's back when we were doing just audio, but it's in the first year of our podcast, maybe the second. But yeah, it's Dark Jake Gyllenhaal movies. We do Zodiac and Prisoners and Enemy.
Yeah.
And Will in real time scares the ever-living shit out of us.
Yeah. He's like not closing the bins back up after he opens them. So there just are literal tons of snakes everywhere. And then he keeps opening the bins.
Well, he's very much a man possessed in that scene. Jesus Christ,
babe.
We're talking about creepy murder movies, and this voice, this disembodied voice, just yelled down the hallway, yeah, that was fucked up.
Kristen, are you ever afraid there's a stranger in your house? Yes, constantly. I think Zodiac's an excellent movie. I think it's a little too long, but I'm also obsessed with murder, and the Zodiac killer has never been caught. It's fascinating.
No, it is a great movie, but it was just very funny when we were watching it. Because you were just sort of like, I forgot how much of this movie is not about the Zodiac.
So much of it is about like the dissolution of Jake Gyllenhaal's marriage to Chloe Sevigny, and you're just like, ah.
I am glad that I've seen it. However, unlike you, I do not feel compelled to talk about it at every possible.
Rachel also likes murder. Well, you think it's not going to come up? She lives here.
This episode is actually just an excuse for me to air some grievances.
I'm not good at improving. I like Zodiac too much. These are my crimes.
No, so this movie came out in 2014. That was a interesting year for both of us because I didn't have a home.
I had a bad year that year.
You really did.
The end of it was nice, but my dog died and my mom died and then I got married. Mm-hmm. So it was like a very upstairs, downstairs kind of situation.
No, we had all left the big house we were in and my parents had not moved down here yet. So I spent like 6 months between your place and my brother's apartment and my parents' house in Maryland. And I kind of just kept coming back and forth.
My grandpa also died. Yeah, it was a tough year.
And so you guys recommended Gone Girl to me. And so I listened to the book and I never did finish it because round about this time I had the realization that I do not like reading the book before I see the movie. It actively ruins the movie for me. For me.
Yeah.
It very much so does.
Yeah.
I remember sitting down for like the premiere of Catching Fire and being like, woo woo, and being like, oh, I literally know everything that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And on top of that, my imagination was better. So it's
no,
like...
100%. That's why I get so pissed about the movie adaptations, because I'm like, why didn't you just pull this wholesale from my head? It would be better if you did that.
Well, as a matter of fact, actually, I think Catching Fire is a pretty great adaptation.
The Hunger Games, I have way fewer problems with the adaptations than something like Harry Potter, which I have problems in every single movie.
But I remember bailing out of this halfway through. It served its purpose driving here for your wedding. And then my parents moved in. And then like a month later, we went to see the movie. And I really remember loving it. It is, I think one of the things I like about David Fincher is he really skirts the line between prestige while not feeling stuffy or pretentious or arrogant. Like he straddles the line between like Oscar and blockbuster.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think he's really...
Like this movie was accessible to a mainstream audience.
In a way that I think one of his most similar contemporaries is Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Christopher Nolan often goes too intense. Like he's too interested and crazy about like the weirdest thing he can do in a way that I think David Fincher is a lot more like, I want to make a movie that people like and understand.
Well, Christopher Nolan is just like 20% more Zack Snyder than...
Also, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it has its place, but also when I'm in the mood for Zack Snyder, it's not reserved. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I have no use for the light version. For like the light beer version of Zack Snyder.
No. I want to watch Sucker Punch and I want to watch it right now.
Yeah, I loved this movie. And mostly our take on this is that it's like a feel-good revenge fantasy. To
a point. I am more on Nick's side than Amy's through the whole movie. I am a very good for her. I'm in a very good for her place, but she's a psychopath. No, he doesn't deserve everything that happens.
Well, okay, movie. It's something that we talk about a lot. If you watched our recent coverage about Midsommar, where, and this isn't really a spoiler for Midsommar, but she smiles at the end of the movie, and I have a tendency to, especially if I'm really enjoying something, if I'm really getting it, I can sort of look at it at multiple layers. And I said the end of Midsommar, I was like, it's not so much that the character is smiling as it is the movie is smiling at me. Yeah. I go into that place with this where it's like, yes, okay, if these were two human beings that existed on this earth, there's no scenario where she's the good guy. None whatsoever. However, when you're propping up literary themes, she is the granddaughter of the witches you weren't able to burn.
Sure.
And so in that regard, she's a folk hero to me. It's like, because I was looking at some of the reviews and stuff, and that's when you came in, I was like, I struggle with the word farce, but like someone was like, this is a straight up farce.
It can be read that way. I think also what's fascinating, I was thinking about it while I was doing my hair and makeup. One of the things that's fascinating to me about this movie is that they both remain, Nick more so, but they both remain humanized through the movie to the point where because I was thinking about it and I was like, well, I was almost gonna ding it as like not necessarily a plot hole, but something that goes too far. But then because it was Gillian Flynn's first book, and so I was like, no, but maybe not. And the thing I was thinking about was, it just felt it, and it does every time I watch the movie, and I think I have this exact same thought process when she gets robbed by the trashy people at the motel. I was like, that feels like a step too far. Like, why does she have to have this trial, like, in the midst of everything? Like, she's, like, planned so thoroughly. It doesn't make sense for this to happen. I was like, well, it's meant to humanize her. She is legitimately victimized in that moment. And that's the thing where
she also didn't have a plan.
For that.
Until that point.
Right.
Because it's kind of one of my favorite parts of the movie. So my actual entire favorite part of the movie is the last 20 minutes. Like, from the moment she kills Desi on, ear to ear grin. Just, I find it intoxicating. And especially, it's like a dream sequence. But I do love
the way he shoots it, and it's sort of, a lot of it comes in flashes, too, like this. Like, especially when she's killing him while still fucking him.
I'm the one that brought that up, but that's not where I was heading.
But the flashes are so cool, the thing he does.
No, the music, there's this like new age, like you just wandered into like a bird feeding shop that has like a 90s Enya, like
It's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Yeah.
Like, it's so good. But I love that she's just this being of pure passion, but doesn't have a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she presumably doesn't have a goal in life because she knows she's meant to be accomplished, but she doesn't then accomplish anything.
Right.
She I mean, yes, they are very ideal. There's a very American Gothic thing. I think it's something Gillian Flynn excels at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only familiar with this and Sharp Objects, but they are two of the better stories I've seen and two of the better adaptations I've seen.
I've said it when we were out there, but Dark Places is my favorite of her novels. It's a mediocre adaptation, mostly just because nobody flashy got it, but I think it still is a serviceable adaptation and the story is bananas. So, yeah.
I love the things that she insinuates.
Mm-hmm.
And to say American Gothic again, it's this very real thing that's bubbling under in so many of us and like individuals within the country and the country itself. Like it very much is that like really good true crime thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're a big true crime person. I'm not really, however, I'm not immune to it, especially if it's particularly like.
I did burst my own true crime bubble. I'm less into it now than I was like 2 years ago, but it is still fascinating to me. And you're right, which is why I think I like Dark Places the best, because it's the most true crimey. Mm-hmm. Like it's the most, like there's something about it.
The way that I watch it, they're not necessarily, this is very Great Gatsby to me. They're not specific people.
Yeah.
They represent things.
They each are each other's green light.
Kind of, because they just, on paper, by all accounts, he's perfect for her, but there's nothing there. They're constantly pretending.
Yeah.
I love that she feels so passionately about what she's doing, but has no actual end game.
Yeah.
Because to bring back to the point that started this tangent of mine is I just love the kill self ?
On like 4 months in a row.
She just keeps moving it.
Yep.
And it's just that like that her actual life isn't what matters. Mm-hmm. It's the narrative.
Yeah.
It's so wild to actually kind of think about.
Yeah.
And the real star of this movie is the casting director.
Oh my God. First of all, this was Carrie Coon's first movie.
Is it really?
Yeah, this was her feature film debut. She is exquisite in this movie. She came on the scene for me and I was like, I want to watch every single thing she ever does. And for the most part, I have.
She's the only person that I actually feel bad for in the entire story.
I do feel the worst for her. I feel bad for Nick at the end.
Yeah.
At the end, he is trapped. There's nowhere he can go. That's the saddest part of this movie to me is how trapped he is at the end.
He's worthless, as if he wouldn't just do that anyways.
Stay?
Yeah, I've noticed it. We watched Midsummer like a week ago, so it's very present in my mind. Yeah. I'll try to not spoil anything for that, but I was feeling a lot of like...
I see that.
He's a worthless boyfriend.
I don't want to go so far as to call him worthless. I think that there's something more to Nick. I just think if you come out of this movie and you think Amy is really the victim, I don't think she's watch it.
No,
right.
I don't think she's the victim. Yeah. But he literally says something. I wrote it down. I don't remember where it was. Oh, it's like deep into the shit of the movie, and he literally says Amy brings out the best in me.
Yeah.
It's like he's an addict. And
she says it later too. Like when one of her voiceovers, she's like, he brought out the best. He brought out this person in me that I didn't know I could be. But it's so toxic. It's
because
just
he's totally willing to just give up, to just settle. He's totally willing to just drift off and be the piece of shit husband with the girl on the side. It's embarrassing. Mm-hmm. It's so pathetic. I'm just on Amy's side.
No, I can't 100% be. She was gonna have him executed.
We're gonna execute him.
That's what her goal
was.
There's
nobody. No, her goal was to have him locked away. She said, he killed me, therefore I wanted to make him pay. She wanted
but
to
Missouri has the death penalty.
They weren't going to do it. They didn't know. They were not going to give him the death penalty. Regardless. And also in that scenario, she's dead as well.
Because she has killed herself at that point. Fair enough.
Once she understood, once he caught up to their relationship, she pulled the plug on that plan right quick and came running back. Again, I'm talking about these characters like they're mythical figures.
Oh, that's fair. And I am looking at them at a very human level.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the archetypes they represent. And it's the overachiever and it's the Midwestern sort of American, to say it a third time, the American Gothic. Like, it's like she refuses to be insignificant. She refuses to allow him to drag her down.
Sure, but in doing so, she's not becoming significant through anything real. She is only becoming significant through this farce and lie that she's telling.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, like what you said before, she feels the need to do something of merit and of worth, and she's still not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she still is going to be an insignificant housewife in Missouri with a baby.
Because the other thing this was reminding me
who's
of...
still a sociopath.
The other thing this was reminding me of was Chicago.
Yes, I get that
and
as well.
It has a very... that Chicago vibe to it, the whole movie.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I said, I think that there is it's the catharsis. It's the what it represents. It's the burn it to the ground and salt the earth. I love it. I literally their entire like romance period where they're like falling in love. Both it's exhausting. They're both speaking in code.
Oh, yeah.
It is so like that weird flirt display they do at the party, making fun of all the other people. And it's like, okay, fine. Yeah, the piano shirt hipster guy is pretty tragic, but you know where you stand with him.
Sure.
Like,
you know exactly what you're going to get to.
Uh-oh. Is that him? Ironic hipster, so self-aware it makes everything a joke.
I prefer men who are funny, not funny. What type are you?
Well, and he like so deliberately like categorizes the beer she's drinking, and she's drinking a beer just like a cool girl. That's the thing too. Despite how she talks about the cool girl, she is one, and she remains one for the entirety of the movie.
Well, like because the world, society, we live in a society.
Yeah.
It trained her up in this way.
Well, her parents didn't help either.
No, because that's the whole thing where you're like, she
didn't have a chance.
Yeah. It's like, you were like, even this quote unquote success is bullshit. I'm like, well, because that's all she ever learned was trying to live up to a non-existent, to like a character.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thing that drives me nuts. I mean, also, I wish I was wearing my Britney shirt too. We're in a free Britney world where it's like, the world trains people to behave this way and then punishes them for doing it. You know, it's like...
Okay, but I can't hit hard enough. Sociopath.
Okay.
Britney Spears is not a sociopath.
I mean, that we know.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not defending her. That's why you keep talking about the actual person. I'm talking about the catharsis and watching it. Yeah. It's so cool getting to see someone actually be like, this is obviously a very female element. And I think David really nailed that, obviously aided by Gillian and Rosamund, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it's like, we get to watch the Joker. We get to watch Dirty Harry. We get to watch men get fed up. I'm up to here. And then they get to go out and shoot and bang, bang, bang. And it's amazing. And it's cinema. And dudes masturbate all over us about how it's like the epitome of like blah, blah, blah. And one woman gets a little bit stabby.
Yeah. Slicey, if we're being honest. Yeah. I'm gonna
and suddenly it's like, ooh, you need to think about what it is you're advocating for here.
I'm gonna amend one thing you say, which is that we didn't get to watch Joker. We were made to watch Joker.
I'm just saying.
This is a pro Gone Girl anti-Joker house.
Everybody is phenomenal in this.
Kim Dickens is my other favorite.
So Rhonda and what was his name?
Gilpin was the last name. It's Patrick Fugit.
They are
James.
Yeah, they are so interesting and well written.
Mm-hmm. They're good in the book too.
I remember that part because it's like there was enough going for it. Like Gillian had like enough things working. It's like she didn't have to go so hard.
Yeah.
Like she didn't have to make all the characters so interesting and so good.
Well, they all feel fully formed, and I think that's one of the better things about her writing. Even like somebody who's only there for like a minute feels fully formed.
Well, I love that they're definitely not rookies. Like they've been through it, they know what they're doing. However, neither of them is particularly like arrogant. Like they are, because I mean, she has several scenes in the movie where she's like, dude, I have given you the benefit of the doubt. And she has. And I like that it hits a lot of these familiar cop tropes without clobbering us over the head, because it's like the fact that she is giving him the benefit of the doubt is because she is good at her job. And because on some level she can tell this isn't making sense.
100%.
Like, and I love that we get to explore that without her having to yell it at us a bunch whilst wearing a French braid.
I was going to say, at no point does she have a French braid. She does a ponytail once or twice, but that's it.
And I love their dynamic. And again, the impulse to make her female. She doesn't have to be, but, and I love his sort of like, fuck, what it was, Andy Griffith. It's like
a little, yeah. He feels like greener than she is, obviously, and he's younger than Kim Dickens. But I think the whole thing about him specifically are my two favorite parts in his story, which is at the very beginning when he's like, when Nick is getting bombarded with questions from Detective Boney, and he's like, she says something about like, you don't know what she does all day, you don't know who her friends are, you don't know her blood type, and then Nick has to leave to call the in-laws, and he just leans over to Kim Dickens and is like,
should I know my wife's blood type?
Because I love in the middle of this like serious crime investigation, there's like a workplace comedy.
Yes.
Because it's also so funny.
Yeah.
And I can't quite remember. Well, Sharp Objects
it's funny. It's like biting.
It was
searing.
very vicious. Yeah. It had a sense of humor.
So my other favorite part is at the end after Amy comes back and Nick is like saying, like talking almost shit about her from outside the room where she's getting interviewed. And Patrick Fugit just turns to him and goes,
Can you just be happy your wife is home and safe?
You don't understand. Like he doesn't have the capacity to be like, those two scenes I think are the ones that show exactly, again, how well-rounded of a character he is for being in like maybe 10 minutes of this movie. It's so good.
Well, I also love Amy going up against, what is Rhonda? What was?
Kim Dickens.
Yes, but
Boney?
You called her Boney. You called her something else. Because they're evenly matched. And I just love Amy's disdain at the fact that she has done so much. And it's like, it's very like, who is this? Who are you? You're not part of my master plan.
She's also, Detective Boney's not the only woman in the room, but there are two other women that have no dialogue and they're sitting and Detective Boney is standing. And the man who's asking Amy questions keeps on looking like her, like looking at Kim Dickens, like, what the fuck are you doing? Questioning this woman. And I think it's such a good juxtaposition to how it usually is, where the men are too aggressive with the female victims. And for Amy, not for everybody. Oh God, I just realized how that looked. I just think it's so fascinating that the woman is the one that's going after her harder. That's like, no, you need to answer my questions though. And she just is like, oh, I feel myself fading. It's like Norma Desmond bullshit. It's so ridiculous.
And she just like, she practically, because when they bring up the club, the punch and Judy club, she's like, you can almost see her go,
yeah.
I must have dropped it on the way. Like, it's just so, I find it hysterical. And it gets funnier each time.
Each time you watch it.
I watch it.
Absolutely.
I love what Rosamund Pike is doing. She's doing something with her voice. She's doing this like breathy, kind of whispery thing where it almost makes Amy sound ADR'd.
Well, it's a thing that happens to a lot of British women when they do American accents. A lot of times they go up an octave, but her and Carrie Mulligan go down an octave.
I think it's intentional, whatever it is. It makes her it makes her seem like it's an affectation. It makes her seem like she's performing the entire movie.
She is.
And it's just like, ugh. And her fucking parents, I mean, straight out of the Potterverse, like.
Well, yeah, I just love,
right from House Slytherin, like.
I absolutely love the way it's like towards the middle of the movie where like they're they're doing the vigil or whatever. Not the vigil yet, but they're like about to send out the search party. And Margo just comes up to Nick and is like, Mary Beth's pissed. And it's just so funny.
Well, and I also just love the archetype of Nick that that he's just this sort of like corn-fed Americana jock.
Yeah.
That didn't have to work for it. He just is naturally handsome and charming.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're pairing him with Amy, who has to work so hard, I absolutely see where like that underbelly, that disdain
100%.
comes from. Because I remember empathizing with Nick so many different places, because it's like, she asked to take a picture. Of course I'm gonna like smile. Of course, he's just kind of, he's going through the motions because he needs to.
It's just what's ingrained in him, because that's when he goes to talk to Mary Beth. She's like, you're like the fucking homecoming king.
Yeah.
And he's like, my mom told me to be nice to people. I'm trying to be nice to people. And it's just like, he literally can't catch a break every time, because that's why David Fincher cast him, is because I guess when he casts people, he just like looks at the internet at like pictures of celebrities to see who he likes. And he saw,
like, as a treasure trove.
He saw that stupid smile and he was like, that's it. He was like, that's the guy. And I love that, because he does it at the vigil. He does that stupid grin.
Well, but also because as much as people like him, it also pisses people the fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of people that do not like him. It's like a male equivalent to Anne Hathaway type of a thing. Like,
he's not that nice, but I take your point.
But it's like, like she'll smile and wave and stuff. And some people like are like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And other people are like, ugh. And he elicits that sort of like,
he's got like, his memoir should be called A Very Punchable Face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're ultimately,
I love Ben Affleck.
Yeah. I was like, we're Ben Affleck fans, but I mean, there's plenty to say. Like,
I don't think
this is a road well traveled.
Me loving him doesn't mean I think he's devoid of mistakes and fault. I just think he is very good at his job, and he has been for the majority of his career. Has he taken paycheck roles? 100%. One of them is called Paycheck. But I just think he's mostly great. I think I like him a lot. He's really good at directing too.
I do love the cat, which, if I recall, is not in the book.
I don't think so, but
it's
been a minute since I read
it. For the movie, because Fincher wanted a shorthand to get the audience on Nick's side. Yeah. And he specifically was like, he can't be a dog. That's too on the nose.
Because it also would have had to be a golden retriever, or a mutt, you know?
And he wanted it to be aloof. He wanted it to be the cat, but the cat is just this weird presence in the movie. And there's a handful of scenes, like, because Rachel even commented that her first night back home, that he obviously goes in, and I love how she's like, she's totally like willing to oblige. She's like, that's to be expected. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have to work.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to work mutually.
Have to come to a compromise. And she, like, the language she uses, because she's like, I'm gonna need you to
a place of mutual forgiveness, you know?
She's like, I'm gonna need you to admit to the spending and to this and to that. That's what I need in order to feel safe. And I'm just like, he's the one who doesn't feel safe. What the fuck?
And just the fact that he like tries to keep the cat from her.
Yeah.
That he doesn't want to leave it.
Well, and also just like, I think it's like a comfort thing for him. He's like, I want to have the cat with me, and also it will keep.
But I don't think he slept that night.
No.
Like,
would you?
The whole thing with Desi is so weird, and
you see the moment she's like, oh no, I'm gonna kill him. And it's when he takes her pudding away. In
lesser skilled hands several ways over, that would have been the straw, like the thing too many. I would have been like, she's got like a crazy ex-boyfriend that she's gonna run it. Like, that would have been the plot point that I'm like, wait a minute, they lost me with this.
No, it checks.
Oh, it does, yeah.
Especially because it's not just Desi, because we also meet the other guy who's played by Scoot McNairy. We hear about them both at the beginning, but then we meet Scoot McNairy, who has raped her, and he's like, 100% no, and it literally, she ruined my life. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, the moment where you're like, oh shit, because like, I don't believe that she tried to kill Desi, but I think she did fuck him up enough that he tried to kill himself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, in high school, not obviously she 100% killed him in the movie.
I also like how, like, I love who we were talking about a little bit earlier, but that is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I love it happens a couple times, because it's that scene, and it's the scene where Nick pushes her, mm-hmm. where it's like really heightened, and like the music changes, the sound drops out, all of that. But,
Do you know what David Fincher told Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor about the music? He had apparently gone to some spa where there was like tranquil music that was supposed to put him at ease, and he just felt creepy about it, and he was like, do that for the whole movie.
I love that. There's sort of, in my mind, a scenario where Desi doesn't even know what's happened.
Yeah.
Because he's like ejaculation. And the way that's filmed too is it's so quick. It's just like, phew. And her covered in the blood, and because that was something that Trent Reznor, that David Fincher wanted to do. It's like, we've seen so many scenes of like women in the shower washing blood off, but he was like, it's always their blood. Yeah. And he wanted it to be like, this
is the blood of a man who, while again, I don't necessarily think he deserved to be murdered, except for that it fit her narrative. He has all similarly victimized her, where he was like he was controlling everything she ate and drank and did. Like, he's got a full breakfast at that scene, his like last day that he goes to work or whatever, and she's eating like the tiniest little yogurt parfait. It's just horrible. I maintain that it's when he took the pudding. She was like, oh no, you gotta go. Although he just seems so rich. Just leave, go to Greece with him. Just stay out of it.
It would be too much work.
Sure.
It would be way too much work. Well, we mentioned Carrie Coon. Did you have anything more that you wanted, or did you really?
Her performance just like comes out swinging. I like don't know what. I don't think I can accurately describe my feelings in the movie theater seeing this movie.
We have a very we know Ben Affleck, and so to have someone come out as his twin sister that he has this like bond with.
And she stands up against him. Like, that's the thing is, and especially because I agree that there's some stuff in his early career that he's like not very good in, you know, it's like Good Will Hunting was amazing. And then he did a handful of really shit things. But like this era of his career, I think has been marked by really excellent acting performances in addition to the directing. And so to have basically, I mean, I know she did a lot of other stuff in theater and whatnot, but to have a relative unknown come in and go toe to toe against one of the biggest movie stars of, you know, the last 20 years, I think is so impressive. And it's just like so many of her deliveries are so good. Like when she finds out about the girlfriend, about Andy, she just is like,
you fucking idiot.
That whole banter together is amazing.
Because I think like Margo is like an audience surrogate. Like she's like a stand-in for what we're thinking. Where it was like, oh, come on,
100%. Because
she wasn't. What is she? She was like, I thought you hated cliches.
I thought writers hated cliches. And he's like, I'm not a writer. And she's like, go get fucked.
But she keeps on saying your teenage girlfriend.
So funny.
Well, because there's the one line where they're talking about like, why couldn't you charge it? And they're like, her bill goes to her.
Why couldn't you charge it? And he says, well, Amy, all the bills go to Amy. Well, why couldn't your girlfriend charge it? All of her bills go to her parents. And she goes, ew.
Put it on Andy's credit card.
Andy's statement went right to her parents.
Ew.
The precursor to ew, David, in my opinion. So good.
But because also in that scene, we have Tyler Perry, where he gets off being in this movie, let alone excellent.
Okay, so there was a piece of trivia about this, and it was very good because he like didn't want to take, or he basically said if he had known, I probably would have walked away from it if I had known who David Fincher was and his body of work, or if I'd known the book was so popular and so many people loved it, I would have said no, and my agent knew that, and he didn't tell me until after I signed on. And the reason I wouldn't have done it is because when things are that magical for people, they become very special. There's a lot of pressure for it to be what they want it to be. Mm-hmm. But I thought he was perfect in this.
And I think it's the unexpected element of it. Like a lawyer like that would need to be kind of like, well, unexpected and charming and all. We have fucking Missy Pyle
as like Nancy Grace. Yeah,
that was very particularly triggering for me.
I mean, what is wrong with his barkeep? His wife's nowhere to be found, and here's Nick Dunn for you flirting. Cute pic, huh?
Who is that?
You know, most
Some
men...
fucking tragedy.
Who the fuck is that?
I don't know. She was trying to give me a casserole.
On the show today, we have...
Because my mom was obsessed with the Casey Anthony case when that was going on, and she was here for like 3 months in Florida, and it was all that was on TV.
Yeah.
And she didn't like Nancy Grace, but she liked the story, and she just fucking had that on all the time. And also, I want Missy Pyle to know, if she's listening, I'm sure she is, that you have a job at Fox News. You could make just so much money.
I just feel like Missy Pyle wouldn't sell out her principles that way, you know?
I feel like she would.
I also think that Missy Pyle has the career that she wants to have.
Sure.
Yeah. I think she's happy with where she's landed.
And then apparently your favorite, Celia Ward.
I love Celia Ward. Celia Ward is great.
Sure.
She's just fun.
You just talk about it like it's like this huge, like, oh my God, I love her so much.
Not necessarily in this. She's like.
No, she is great in this for like the one scene that she's in.
She's just a nice presence in the world. I think.
And she seems classy. Like she seems like she would be one of these like investigative, like journalists.
Diane Sawyer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know you hate the movie, but she's good in The Day After Tomorrow. She's the mom in The Day After Tomorrow.
I do hate that movie. Yeah. And fucking Casey Wilson as Noelle Hawthorne.
This investigation to a circus.
Where's your wife, Nick?
Let the police do their job.
What did you do to your pregnant wife?
Let's find.
You tell him that, Nick. You tell him Amy was 6 weeks pregnant.
She's so good at it. That's the thing, that it's like, because my husband hates all three of those characters. Well, not really Celia Ward, but the Missy Pyle character and the Casey Wilson character. But I think it's not that the characters they're not good characters. No. They're like shit characters, but I think the performances are so good. They're like so exactly right.
Yeah, it's just hilarious. It's like we all know that person, and
Casey Wilson just like at the vigil, where's your pregnant wife?
God. Well, that was informed directly by the Casey Anthony thing.
Yeah,
remember the neighbor that was like screaming and yelling at the door, "Where's Casey?"
Yeah.
Like that was ripped from the headlines. And there's always those busybody who like think they're the hero or think they're the sidekick, and it's like they're really making the whole world worse for everybody.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, because even Missy Pyle at the fucking end, oh my God. And just like I remember we laugh at it every single time, but her hugging Amy and Nick is just like,
yeah.
We're gonna be parents.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, how exciting. Oh,
it's like his face a lot in the last like 15 minutes of this movie is very like Emma Stone's face at the end of The Favorite, where she's like, well, I made my bed.
And that's the thing. It's everyone like, I don't know. I feel like people are too, because again, yes, I understand if there was a scale of justice directly in front of us, I know where it would be.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there are ominous fates. Characters suffer like unfair outcomes
100%.
Sometimes. And
I mean, I think that's what's so good about Gillian Flynn's whole deal. Like all three of her books are like that, where it's like,
because even the stuff with Margo, where Margo's like trying to get him to fight through it, and he's totally given up because he's kind of worthless. Well, he's not actually going to fight for something.
She's the one at the end of the movie sobbing on the floor saying, I can't watch you with that monster for 18 years. I'm not convinced she's actually pregnant.
I'm not either.
Okay.
I think he gave up. He's worthless. He's not going to fight for a damn thing.
But that's what I think is so interesting about all three of her novels and all three of the adaptations, is that you get to a place where you're like, oh, okay, we're like good now. Like we're going to be, but then the more you think about the ending, you're like, oh God, that's so much worse than like, that's worse than like what was like really happening.
The inciting
like,
incident.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for just the movie, you know, the people who hadn't read the book, it was a hit.
Yeah.
And this was a big movie that launched where basically they could only use footage from like the first third of the movie.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's one of the better twists, I think, because it just sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I've been mad enough to daydream about something like this. It's the follow through.
100%. 100%. Tons of people, I don't know about the whole faking your death part, but tons of people are like, I could just run away. Like I could just leave tomorrow, clear out the bank account. I could just go. And it's the type of thing where you're like, but I'm not going to. Like that presents a whole host of
follow through on that.
That just presents a whole host of other problems that I don't want to deal with. So it's like, you know, what are you going to do?
I remember there being a lot more in the book about like the abandoned mall and the drugs and the...
Well, it's a very Midwestern Missouri problem. There's a lot of meth.
The opiates and all that.
Or opiates, I think, are more than meth.
And I do love, because again, like I said, between Gillian and David Fincher, the scene of like, I love when someone can just capture a summer evening. And the scene, it's like while they're looking for her, and it's the evening, the kids just riding their bike down the street.
Yeah.
In like dusk.
Yep.
And you can hear the crickets, and it's just like, oh God, I love it so much.
It also he does that thing that we like a lot, especially with like timeline stuff, where like all of the past stuff is very golden, and like whenever there's a scene about their like about all their like early days of dating, it's all very golden, and it takes a really bluish hue once they get to Missouri. Yeah, it's very good.
Also, like Emily Ratajkowski. It's not a really challenging role, but it's a role that was needed, and she is exceptionally gorgeous.
She's very pretty.
I'm very Megan Fox, where I'm like, well, yeah, I know that it doesn't necessarily require skill, but it's like, let's go ahead and give her a round of applause for achieving an unattainable standard of beauty.
Sure.
And allowing us to ogle it for a scene.
Yeah. I do also
hats
love,
off, my lady.
One of my favorite things is when Desi's picking Amy up from the casino, and it's when Andy is like giving her statement or whatever, and she's like, well, the like fucking Peter Pan collar buttoned all the way up, and Amy is just like, little miss, come on me tits, and she looks like a fucking Mennonite. It's just such a good line. It's such a good line.
A married man.
The girl with the giant come on me tits.
I truly believed we were in love.
She looks like a fucking Mennonite.
And then, you know, not one, but two exciting blink and you miss it dicks in this movie.
Yeah. I like had forgotten about the Neil Patrick Harris one, but it's there.
Blink and you miss it.
Yep.
But the Ben Affleck one, mazel tov.
Yeah. Congrats to Jenny from the Block again, I guess.
The very pungent Judy.
That was good.
What came to mind?
Yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair.
Like I said, genuinely, from the moment that after she escapes from Desi and he wakes up and you can just hear tires screeching and crashing, I'm just like tickled. Like, I think it's so funny that her collapsing in his arms in front of her camera.
Well, she hugs him and he just, you fucking bitch.
And the kiss me, and then him fake kissing her, and it just like, I love it. I love it. I kind of like, I don't know what it would be. In no reality do I actually want a sequel. Yeah. But I do kind of want to see this sort of like amped up perverted screwball farce continue. Yeah. Like
let's just like if Gillian Flynn is watching this, just can we sit down for dinner and you just tell us where you think Nick and Amy are now? I'm desperate to know.
I mean, we have to be on the third, like, presumed death.
Sure.
Like, the third missing.
Well, she has killed Margo 100%. And made it look like an accident.
I don't know. Do you remember... I made you guys laugh because we were talking... I think I said this after we saw the theater. I was like, I want a sequel. And you would like, what do you even call it? I said, Gone Girl 2, Time to Go.
That's right. I do remember that. That was funny. That's still funny.
That wasn't because I listened to the audiobook.
Yeah.
So I thought it was the French, the G.
E-A-U-X.
Yeah. And I just imagine it spelled
Time
that
to go, G-A-U-S.
No, Margo's fine.
We'll see.
Andy's dead.
That doesn't make any sense. Andy's not on Nick's side anymore. Margo's still on Nick's side.
Okay, fine.
Tyler Perry's dead for sure.
No, he's kind of the reason why I think there's more stories, because the way he's like, "Oh, you're gonna need me later."
Yeah, he got the hell out of Dodge too. He's far enough away, I think.
So, all right. Well, that was our conversation about Gone Girl.
Yeah.
We're terrible at this. We've been meaning to say at the top of the episode that we are covering RuPaul's Drag Race Season 7 on our Patreon.
Yep.
And we are covering currently RuPaul's All-Stars Season 6 on YouTube and Loki on Disney+.
Yeah.
So you can watch along with us live there.
Also, buckle the fuck up for like a month from now, because we're going to be doing like 8 shows, it feels like.
7 of which are American Horror Story.
I told you, there's 10 weeks in the fall where we are watching 2 American Horror Stories a week, and that feels like a lot.
You're going to be longing for Drag Race.
Yes, desperate for a Drag Race.
Pining for... so...
Okay, well, as always, you can follow us on Twitter, @SoI'mWatching, or Instagram, @SoI'mWatching this show. We also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything, including our Patreon, which is patreon.com/soimwatchingthisshow. If you want to throw us a couple bucks, or you want to see the RuPaul's Drag Race coverage and all our back catalog of other shows, head over there.
We've got Riverdale, we've got Magicians, we've got...
This Patreon has everything. But yeah, definitely go over there, see everything we have to do, and then you can also rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. And that's it for us.